these relationships are deep and they're broad and they're incredibly enriching. It's not, what's your problem today? Let's work on it. We're literally planning the next evolution of this company and his idea of, I'll call it legacy, with the companies he wants to create with his family members. I'm everywhere in that. And I'm always looking for where can I serve more, not so I get what I want, but so he can create the life and the legacy he wants. And guess what? I get paid for that. There's plenty of money around there.
Hello, Facebook, LinkedIn, Mighty Networks, Instagram, wherever you're watching this. I'm here for another faculty interview or preview, I should say. And today I'm joined by Townsend Wardlaw. Townsend, you may know if you're in the coaching sphere, he runs what is now called TCOS, which is the Coaches Operating System. We met a few years ago because we were both being coached by Steve Hardison at the time. And Townsend very kindly reached out, said, why don't we meet up? And it was a fascinating meeting. I remember he drove out to me near where I was staying. And ever since that moment, what I've seen of Townsend is, which is really refreshing, what you see is what you get. Everything that he's ever said, he's followed through on. There's been no BS. And he and I have some differences of opinion. We're not the same person, but we're very, very aligned in terms of wanting to make this profession better, wanting to lift the world up through for coaches doing better work. And so it made sense for me to invite him to be faculty, and I'm really pleased he said yes. So welcome, Townsend.
Thank you for the intro. It's great to be here.
For those people who perhaps don't know you, maybe could you just give us like a 1-2 minute background, because you weren't the guy coaching coaches, and that's not been your background. You've had quite a fascinating background. Could you just give us a little bit of that?
Not only was I not the guy coaching coaches, I had swore I would never have anything to do with coaching coaches. So my stock and trade has been serving founders. Specifically, I love working with founders in the journey from somewhere around 2 million to somewhere around 10 million. And I'll spare the whole conversation around that, but it's both one of the areas of greatest value creation in those businesses. It's also one of the areas where founders fail catastrophically, because you start a business and to get to a couple million in revenue requires complete commitment, all in, and everything is on you. The problem is when you're at a couple million and everything is on you and you're responsible for everything, your company is essentially worthless. Nobody wants to buy it. It's a wonderful lifestyle business, but it's not something that somebody's going to say, oh, I'll give you a 5 to 10x of revenue as a multiple and write you, $40-50 million check for. To grow to the next level requires a couple things. One, just practically speaking, requires building out the infrastructure of a real company, real functions, real departments, people that know what they're doing. And it requires that the founder move from the center of the wheel, to use a metaphor, right, and everything flows through and roundabout, to a true org structure where the founder, sits at the top and has the vision and is responsible for capital and things like that. But they have to learn how to lead, and not lead by being the one at the front, not lead by being the best at it, but learn how to actually lead and build a real company. And it challenges everything about everything that got them there. They literally have to deconstruct almost their entire inner cellular structure and rebuild it again. So I love playing that game. To close out the story, back in 2023, I had the idea I wanted to serve more and work with founders who would never have a chance to work with me. So I launched this call it a container for founders trying to get to 1 million. And the idea was I would coach them bi-weekly. It was going to be scholarship funded. I had a whole plan around it. I have some savvy in marketing on socials and internet marketing. So I built all that out. I had an intake questionnaire, and I hit the go button. And what happened next was quite surprising to me. The applications that were coming in, I had a few founders trickling in, but I had all these coaches showing up. And my reaction literally was, no, I don't want to coach coaches. This is not who I'm looking for. And there was just this incredible, inner, I'll say, knowing or nudge from the universe. No, you need to help them too. That's why they're here. My gift is helping people grow their business. My gift is revenue creation. It always has been. I love playing the game called How Do You Grow a Business? How do you make money? And the the knowledge, the knowing was very certain. Yeah, you need to help them too. So I launched a second container and I started, inviting these coaches to come in and we created agreements and I was coaching them, separate from the founders. Well, the founder container really didn't go anywhere. It was really rather anemic. The coaching container, which at the time was called Coaches and Solopreneurs Business Accelerator, took off. Pretty soon we had 80 people showing up every 2 weeks, and it was incredibly energizing and fun. And I just saw this incredible need to support coaches in the business of coaching. So by the end of that year, I had shuttered the founder community, and I went live and I moved the coaching community, which was just on WhatsApp and Zoom and Google Docs, and I moved it over to Mighty Networks, and we launched at the end of 2023, yeah, I think it was, as the coach's operating system, and it's been an incredible ride. We were up at about 1,500 members up until a couple days ago, but we've done some shifting in our vision and the mission of it, and really consolidated. So we've started to remove a lot of people, and we're basically going to hover around 1,000 members. And it's the mission of the community today is very simple. Coaching is undergoing an incredible transformation. It's challenging. Today, the majority of coaches don't earn enough income to sustain themselves. That's only going to get harder with AI and all the technologies out there that we're seeing proliferate already. Like, coaching is at risk of becoming more and more of a commodity. So the mission of the coach's operating system today is 95% of coaches are never going to earn enough at coaching to call it a profession, to earn a living. We are here for the other 5% to help those who are truly committed to making this as their profession be successful, to help those who aren't sure if they're committed find out if they're committed. And in many respects, the best result is they say, yeah, this is not what I want to do as a profession, but I am personally committed, and everything about the community is helping those coaches that want coaching to be their profession, want to make a massive impact in the world, be successful.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's fun to be part of your journey in your community,
Mm.
and really support that mission too. Um, Now, this uh, kind of 20-minute video is really to give people a flavor of what they can expect from your being faculty for the AJC Coaching Career School. And I've really only got one question. I have different ways of doing this with different faculty, but for you, you do a lot of stuff for coaches already. There's a lot of you out there. There's a lot of you out there at either a very low cost or free. What is the thing that you're going to bring to the AJC that's going to be different than what they can get from all these other places where they can get you?
I love that question. One of the things that's fascinating to me is, there is a lot of me out there. I am committed to just putting everything that I know in the world. And I do my best to be very clear with folks as they begin to get, let's say, closer to speaking to me. What I do out here in the world is not what I really do. It's not really what I do with my clients. I'm very conscious about how can I share with coaches, depending on where they are in the world, the stage they're at, their business, what they need at that moment, right? There's a lot of coaches who want, to look good and have this big brand and have all these fancy ideas. I'm really committed in my public facing world to assisting coaches with, here's what you need in terms of tactics. Here's the how-to. So if you're inside the coach's operating system, you'll find what you need for various levels of your journey, your first couple clients, getting to 35K, getting to 100K. And it's all very structured. There's a lot of process. There's tools. There's a section in there called Path to Pro, which is all these how-tos and like the documents and the guides and literally, 20 years of process stuff that I've built. A funny thing happens when you get to about 100,000 in revenue. And that is you're going to have to make a decision, right? Because at 100, you've got a real business, right? This is actually a decent income. If you want to grow that, let's just say you want to grow it to 200,000 a year. Well, one pathway is simply take everything that you've done to get there and do more of it. Do twice as much, work twice as hard, and you'll get to 200,000, but it won't scale above that. The other pathway is probably scarier for coaches, but essential if you want to play a really big game is you literally need to throw everything you've learned out the window. So what's often surprising when people kind of cross over the threshold and we're having a conversation about, what's up there is they'll have these thoughts. Well, you told me to do this and this, and I've mastered all those things. And that's where I'll let them in on a secret. Yeah, I don't do any of that. None of the stuff I'm teaching in the coach's operating system are stuff that I practice or need to do at the level I'm at. It's an entirely different game. And it's a game about value creation. Singularly, the thing you've got to reorient your brain around is what creates value. There's a lot of talk about, high ticket clients and different people mean different things. But, to me, a high ticket client is anybody above $50,000 a year. That's a significant investment. Well, I love $50,000 clients. I love $100,000 clients. These days, I'm playing a game called How Do I Get $1 million clients or multi-million-dollar clients? And that's an entirely different game played at a different level with a different kind of person who has a different concept of the value they're trying to create in the world, the game they're trying to play. So that's, and I'll pause, we can talk about it, but essentially that's what the masterclass is going to be about. You talk about playing a big game. To me, a big game is not just knitting together more of these 50 and 100K clients, but how do you play an exponentially bigger game of creating massive value on monetary terms and other terms that puts you in the league of some of the most elite coaches in the world?
And I want to be really clear about something, Townsend. It's not a question per se, but and I'm aware this is a short interview that we're doing, but you and I are both against the stuff we see out there in marketers where it's like, how do we get how do we get people to pay us more money? So when you talk about higher fee clients, you're not really talking about how do I get someone to pay me more money, or there's some magical place where these people pay a lot of
No.
money. How do we trick them? How do we impress them?
Yeah.
The word that I really don't want people to miss is the value. How do
Yes.
I,
Yeah.
what you're really saying, what I'm interpreting is how do I create so much value that someone paying me $1 million or more
Mm.
is a very, very good investment? Like, what has to happen in their life and their business and their organization where that's actually a really good investment?
Yeah. Yeah. At this level, there's no systems. And in fact, sometimes when people are disappointed, they think, this next level is like, well, he's going to show me the system to make. There's no system. There's no endless stream of clients. It's literal creation from scratch. The people that I serve have never, it's never come into their mind to spend the kind of money that they spend with me. Now, they understand how to spend money, right? Somebody who's trying to grow a business from 50 to $100 million has probably written a check to a management consultancy for $5 million, right? Or brought in software that costs millions to implement. So they understand investing to create business value. It's never dawned on them that coaching could be that. They might even have spent, $500,000 on training. So what I believe is coaching, particularly transformational coaching, I'll call it, sometimes I call it coaching at the level of being or consciousness coaching, is actually the most powerful tool for value creation in a business. And I've got some stand to make that statement because I spent 15 years consulting. I spent 15 years growing businesses as a consultant, implementing people change, process change, tools, technology, systems, frameworks, all the stuff, all the doing. And I did really well and I created powerful results. But if I'm being honest, the ratio of environments, companies, ecosystems that I was really able to create lasting change versus change just until we got acquired and everybody got their check was rather small. And that always felt hollow to me. As I got exposure to the kind of coaching that I'm talking about, as I stepped out of consulting in 2019, it was actually working with Rich Litvin. I declared I'm done consulting. I'm going to be a coach. As I made that transition, what I discovered was this is far simpler. This is so much more straightforward. It's so much more powerful to work with what's up here, what's in here, to work on the inside. It's so much more powerful and it sticks. And, here's a newsflash. It's less work. Well, that's the good side. The bad side is nobody thinks about this as something they're looking to buy. There's not a company out there going, we could really use some transformational coaching to help us hit our quarterly targets. But at the same time, when you understand how value is created in these systems, business systems, personal systems, right? This isn't just about business. When you're talking about folks with significant means, there are estates, there are family offices, there are joint assets at risk of being divided when a family splits apart. There's so many places to create value, but you literally have to reframe how you think about value, how you think about money, and then you can have all sorts of fun playing a game called where can I create a ton of value and take a piece of that? And people will gladly pay for getting what they want.
So can you flesh that out for us a little bit more? Um, and I know you're going to really flesh this out properly in the masterclass, but someone might be there thinking that just sounds almost too good to be true. And I think it's one of those things that, like the word service,
Mm-hmm.
um, when and this was for me, by the way, as a client, this was true as my
Mm-hmm.
journey as a coach, but now also when I'm coaching others, is that I thought I knew everyone knows what service means, customer service, right? Give good
Mm-hmm.
customer service. And I'd read about it and I'd
Yeah.
heard Steve Chandler talk about it. And then when I got coached around it and I was given real examples, I'm like, oh, I was thinking this is service. And it was like, no, there's a whole different level up here. And I'm hearing the same thing, what you're talking about in terms of value. What kind of value could you give us a bit more meat on the bones that
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
for a company that creates millions of dollars worth of real value?
Yeah. Well, I'll use a real life example. So there's a gentleman. He's been my client. I'd say for the past 3 years. We met, and I first came into contact and started serving him kind of late 2019. So right there's something interesting. This was somebody that came across my radar, and something about his life and who he was. There was just this knowing I'm going to help this man. He wasn't ready for coaching. He wasn't looking for a coach. He wasn't looking for anything. And I found ways to be of service to him, things that he needed, things he was trying to create with his company. I stayed in touch with him. He was sort of always in my consciousness. Today, I serve him as his coach. We meet once a week. I coach his entire leadership team, meaning I meet with them biweekly or when it's appropriate. And I insert myself elsewhere in the company where something pops up. They're, let's just say they're in the upper end of that $2 to $10 million range, and they're in the process of going out to have their company acquired. Well, when a company's acquired a software company at a strategic valuation, that's 5 to 10x of their revenue. So let's just call it 10 million in revenue. He's playing $100 million game. So it's not just the lift in revenue of the company and supporting him in attaining what he needs to do in the company, right? So there's we need this process fixed or this person's having a hard time. That's one level of the game. The next level of the game is, well, how do I hit my bonus and how do we pay people? The next level is, how does our company hit our revenue targets and grow? And the next level is, how do those revenue targets tie to somebody coming along and acquiring us and putting tens of $1 million in the founder's account? But that's just the beginning because the acquisition comes along and it's not like everybody walks away. It's okay, now do we take this to the next level? So I'm already starting to work with his team to prepare them for what they will need to be, how they will need to think to go from running a $10 million company to growing that company to 100 million so it can sell for $1 billion. Oh, and by the way, I've coached his family members. When we talk about what's going on and his life, I say, well, let me be of support there. I hear something about what's going on. I said, I'd love to have a conversation with your sister. And I serve there. So I mean, these relationships are deep and they're broad and they're incredibly enriching. It's not, what's your problem today? Let's work on it. We're literally planning the next evolution of this company and his idea of, I'll call it legacy with the companies he wants to create with his family members. I'm everywhere in that. And I'm always looking for where can I serve more, not so I get what I want, but so he can create the life and the legacy
Yeah.
he wants. And guess what? I get paid for that. There's plenty of money around there.
I this is going to go out at a certain point, maybe in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But at the point of recording, I recorded something with Stephen McGee yesterday. He's another one of our faculty members, and I was so excited about that. And I said, I genuinely believe I'm not bringing in faculty to make up the numbers. I genuinely believe that each masterclass is worth the price of the school. And what you and I are talking about today, if coaches get this, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you are in terms of revenue, even if you are awake and open to this as a possibility, this will be worth the price of the school.
Many times over, many times over. Listen, it's not about the money. For me, it's about impact. And money's great. It's fun. You get to do stuff with it. I don't believe you can even conceive of playing the game at this level if you start with, what am I going to get? Truly. I mean, there are companies now where my, we'll say my stake, my payout is upwards of 4 or 5 million, right? That's a lot of money for coaching, and I get paid along the way. That didn't come from me negotiating a deal. It came from me meeting somebody, seeing what they're up to, helping them up level the vision of what they want to create in the world, and saying, I'm all in on that.
Mm.
Like, I'm all in. I just met with somebody the other day, and it's literally our first meeting. I don't know this man other than our first meeting. I don't understand everything about his world. We haven't even talked about money. I said, listen, you need to understand, I'm here to help you, like for the rest of your life. And I mean it. I know that. Now, I might get paid at some point, probably. And if he's achieving his dreams and making crazy amount of money, well, of course he's going to want to give me some. But there's just an entirely different level of service and a seeing of how the world really works at this level, right? Which most people just don't even get a chance to play at. So what I would say is anybody coming into this masterclass alone, just to get a glimpse of what's possible, will forever shift like your concept of what you can create as a coach from an income standpoint.
And from an impact standpoint too.
Always. And if you don't get that, then don't waste your time, right? If you don't understand that impact comes first, like to me, it's so funny because I always talk about money and people think like I care about money. I'm like, no, no, but service is table stakes. Like going all in on somebody is just so like, well, duh. So I usually don't even, usually bother talking about it. That's the funny part. So I can see people get this idea that, oh, all he cares is about creating money. I'm like, no, that's for fun. But on the other hand, it's the game the world's playing. Make no mistake, the people I serve, the people, your masterclass participants want to serve, they're playing a game called money. And in assisting them with their game about money, we actually earn the opportunity to assist them with what's important, which is what's going on the inside. So to me, that's really the secret of selling stuff at this level. You have to understand, nobody's looking for transformation, at least not initially. But what they will find out very quickly is all the money in the world isn't going to fill that hole in their heart. And I'm there to help them fill that. I think Jim Carrey said, I wish everybody could, get rich beyond their wildest dreams so they could see that it doesn't solve anything. I love being a part of that journey, help them get rich beyond their dreams. And along the way, letting them know it's not going to solve everything so they don't have this giant crash at the end. Somewhere, I think it's on my LinkedIn profile, I have the tagline, my first company cost me everything, cost me my marriage, cost me my sanity, my health, cost me all my money. I exist today for the sole purpose of assisting others who are building things in the world to skip that step.
Beautiful. Thank you, Townsend. We could keep this going, and we will in a few months' time when we have the
Yeah.
masterclass. I want to
Yeah.
thank you for everything that you do in the world. Thank you for saying yes to this. I know this is going to be a masterclass unlike any that we've ever done, and unlike any that's in any other coaching school in the world. So I really appreciate you
Yeah.
being part of this.
It's my pleasure, man. Can't wait to see you.
Thanks.